Welcome to the Spirit Pathways podcast. I am Kate Sprickley. Our podcasts offer raw, honest, and authentic conversations on a number of topics that we hope you find informative and inspiring. Okay, so thank you for joining me on this podcast. I've got my good friend Patwant Rhodes, who is not only one of my most favorite crazy friends, but also my Kundalini Yoga teacher. And I was trying to remember before we started chatting how long I've known you for. And it's a long time. Must be about 14 years, maybe?
Or 14 lifetimes, perhaps.
14 million lifetimes, maybe?
Exactly. Sure, Kate. That's long. Yeah.
You unfortunately had me join your yoga class, and I think I was the only person that would swear every time you told us to do some impossible prayer that hurt.
Lots of rolling of eyes and under breath swearing. Yeah, that was you, for sure.
Definitely me. But I made it, and we are here, and now we are friends.
Wow. And you're probably the only other person that I know that's in 2020, when the pandemic hit, was like, yes, like, this is what we've been waiting for. Like, now things can shift, you know. I think you were probably the only other person on the planet that shared my
excitement.
I mean, obviously not, you know, for the people who were suffering, for sure. It wasn't about that, but just the fact that eventually there could be this movement.
Well, I think also that the possibility of dramatic change in our collective experience of life is what we were excited about.
Yeah.
Because
we felt, I remember so many conversations that we had, you know, walking on the beach, and just so many conversations where we were like in this limbo, like this kind of this waiting room or waiting period. So it was such a moment of like, woo, you know.
Well, it might have had something to do with Saturn moving into Aquarius, which happened in 2020, and we've now got and now we've got Saturn moving into Pisces in 2023. So I'm getting excited about the possibilities of more of that expansion, more of that shifting happening.
I mean, you know. I know, I've been watching so many astrology people and just kind of joining the dots of exactly what you're saying, you know. Saturn moved into Aquarius as the pandemic hit. Yeah. And now tomorrow, full moon, it's moving into Aquarius. And it's like, woo, here we go again.
Another wave is about to hit us, and instead of us cowering in a corner, we like, bring it on.
What's up? Yeah. So are we mad?
Yeah, we are mad, but that's okay. We're mad in a good way. At least I think so, in my opinion. You know, two mad people are getting excited about.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, well, it's really that feeling of, you know, we were born for this time. Every single person that's here is born for this time. So, you know, whether we feel the fear or don't feel the fear, you know, it's moving, it's shifting. And there's that feeling of like reeds in the wind that we can't be rigid and tight and locked. It's, you know, life and the energy is going to make you fluid, or you can lean in, you know, and kind of be flexible, learn flexibility, you know. So, yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that I know we wanted to talk about in today's conversation is that idea of Well, I suppose it's managing our way and navigating our way through the intensity, because as excited as you and I can get about the possibilities and the potential and the expansion that is happening, other people not so much. And as much as I can get excited about it, I still need to go and have my little 2-hour coma nap in order to manage physically the downloads and the intensity of the energy as it ramps up. And this idea of a daily spiritual practice, which I have to be honest, in the nearly 30 years that I've been on a spiritual journey and a journey of self-exploration, the idea of a daily spiritual practice is something that I have resisted for most of that time, just because I don't like to get stuck into something that is going to keep me tied to a routine that yes, I want rhythm in my life, but the idea of a routine is something that I really struggle with, and I probably my bit of ADD there. The boredom sets in, and I can't quite stay with it. So I there are times where I have every intention of getting up every day and doing prayer or doing a meditation and starting my day in that Zen space.
Yeah.
And I kind of stumble out of bed and have that first cup of tea, and then make myself the coffee because the tea kind of hasn't woken me up, and I need to get moving. And the thought of a spiritual daily practice is done. But with Saturn moving into Pisces, and the sense that I have been getting since December last year is that this year it's going to become even more important that we have some sort of daily practice that we settle into, whatever that is, whatever that works for us. And I mean, I have for much of this year started the day in some form of connecting with myself, whether that's through meditation, journaling, through a quick breathing exercise, or a chanting of a mantra or a prayer, or whatever it is. I have started my day, and it has made a difference.
It's like connecting with essence, connecting with home. Like, it's like, oh, okay, here I am, and this is where we are. Okay,
and I can do this.
Yeah, I can do this. I can do this. It's so interesting, Kate, when I was just really kind of reflecting on this conversation that we were going to have, and I just think, I've been teaching Kundalini Yoga and meditation since 2001. So that's over 20 years, and practicing still from before then. And it's so fascinating to kind of just reflect back on that kind of span of time of a practice, and it's so interesting because in the beginning it was very rigid. It was like a hardcore practice, waking up at 4 a.m, having the cold shower, sitting on your mats, chanting for hours, doing the yoga, and really that's sure. I mean, without that, I don't know, perhaps I wouldn't even be here, because that seriously carried me. And at that time, that's the kind of hardcore practice that I needed to be doing. And then going through that process of, realizing, oh my goodness, it's that like flagellation, whipping yourself. Like, if you don't do that, like, oh, you haven't done your spiritual practice, and, and there's kind of like unlearning that whipping, and then learning to be gentle with yourself. And so for me, the practice has changed like so much. I mean, there's been times that I don't want to sit in my mat. There's times that I don't want to hear a mantra, chant a mantra. I want pure silence. And then, so the yogis very much promote that daily spiritual practice. You sit on your mat, you connect with your breath, your essence, your spirit, you do that. And there are many ways to do that. You don't need to sit on your mat to do that.
Mm.
You can turn whatever actually you're doing in your day into that spiritual practice. Perhaps that's the ultimate goal, to actually turn absolutely every single thing that you do in your day into that conscious practice where we are connecting with the breath, connecting with whatever it is that we are doing, whether it's washing the dishes or sweeping or, whatever it is. And I think it's about finding what it is. And if you can't, it's definitely most certainly not about whipping yourself. And it's definitely about listening. It's definitely about listening to what do I require today? Because it honestly can be as simple as connecting to your breath. It can be as simple as taking your shoes off and walking on the grass, feeling the sun on your face, or where you are, crunch of the snow, or the breeze on your cheek. I think it's just about finding a way to make a spiritual practice work for you. And of course, there are so many beautiful tools that are accessible to us, for us to practice when we feel like something a bit more structured. Or, in Kundalini Yoga, we work with 40-day meditations, 90-day meditations, 1,000-day meditations, so definitely I've been there and done all of that. And especially hitting menopause now, there's and being perimenopause for years, there is an incredible shift in energy that you have no choice but to listen. And it's definitely, for me, I can only talk about my experience, and it's definitely been a slowing down and a gentle, I feel like my practice has become a lot more feminine, like a lot more gentle and forgiving and allowing. There's kind of almost like been this unfolding and trusting that that's what I need right now. And that's, there was something I was going to say, Nana. It's just kind of, that's what I wanted to say. I also find over these years, there was that hardcore practice. And I'm not saying there's wrong or right. That's for absolutely sure, because everyone's in a different place. And we have to listen to what resonates and what requires on a daily basis. I mean, that changes. But to me, it's like I feel like it's almost like we need like a homeopathic remedy, in terms of the practice. Like we don't need as much as we used to. We don't have to try as hard. We don't have to push as hard. It's like you have your little homeopathic remedy. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly or how to say it. But it's like the practice requires that, like a fraction of the practice.
Like the density or the ability to connect with ourselves is so much easier. It's like after, if we go back to 20 years ago when we were, or 30 years ago, starting our journeys, it was hard to connect. I mean, I had to spend 40 minutes in meditation before I could feel that expansion happening in my field, where I could feel that expansion and that opening. Now it's just a matter of closing my eyes, focusing on my breath, and I'm there.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I feel the same.
Yeah. And so maybe it's that we've lifted or moved through so much density. And I'm not talking about just you and I'm talking about as a collective, as a human collective. There's a shift within the energetic structure of the world that we're living in, where the vibration of that world has been lifted. And as a result of that, the layers or the levels or the ability to access ourselves and tune into that essence is easier. So we don't need the rigidity of those practices that say you get on your mat and at 4:30 in the morning and you do your sadhana. You used to talk about doing it all the time, and I used to think, you lunatic. No way, catch me at 4 o'clock in the morning on my yoga mat, unless I needed to sleep there. No.
Having a little nap.
I thought you were amazing that you could do that there. I just knew that it was something I couldn't do.
Yeah. And exactly. I mean, it's, you knew what you needed. And I needed to do that. And it's just shifted so much. So I would say, first of all, be gentle with yourself. Even if you can just connect to your breath, just connect to your breath. Follow the flow of your breath in, follow the flow of your breath out, just as much as you can, just consciously deepen into your breath, Breath is the quickest way to shift consciousness, and it truly is. And what I really do love about the practice of Kundalini Yoga is how quickly we can shift our energy. It's potent, it's clear, it works, and that's why I do still practice and I do still teach, because it's rapid.
Yeah, because you can do a kriya or a mantra or a meditation for 3 minutes, and you've shifted. I remember once. I don't know. We go through so much.
Yeah.
But I remember there was one phase in the last few years where I felt this overwhelming anger and frustration, and just everything. It was like, I just wanted to break out of my own skin. It felt so challenging. And I remember you saying to me, do that meditation or the kriya. Is it I can't remember if it's the lion one, when you stick your tongue out.
Or
the
Satali.
But it was one of those ones.
Yeah.
And I just did it for 3 minutes, and I promise you, it changed almost instantly. I came out of that space, that anger and that frustration was gone. It didn't come back either. It was gone.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you can just move energy so quickly. And yeah, I mean, maybe it was dog breath or something, panting. Maybe I had you panting.
There was some sort of like, hard breathing that I was thinking, why am I doing this crazy thing? But it worked.
Yeah.
It really worked.
Amazing. Phenomenal.
And I think also the other thing that we're going through at this, and have been going through, and I mean, all the spiritual teachings talk about this and have talked about this, about being in the moment.
Yes.
Being present, which is essential now, because we have no idea what we're doing. We are stepping into an unknown space we have never been here before, not on any level or at any time or through any experience or through any incarnation. We've never experienced what we're going through now. So to be in the moment is essential if we are able to determine what's next. What is my next? What I'm feeling called to do?
Yes. And that's like our GPS system. I love that. There's like so many. I love that, and there's like so many things that I love that I want to say. But like some yogis say, that we weren't given claws and teeth, sharp teeth to protect ourselves. What we were given was our intuition. And so when we have a practice of connecting, a practice of meditation, a practice of yoga that clears, the gunk and the stuff that's kind of swirling and spinning, then we can hear that voice. And that's also, that intuition is a quiet voice, It's not like, okay, well, Patwant, now it is very clear to me that we need to go left. You know, yeah, we wish it was this booming voice with a loudspeaker, but unfortunately, no. The intuition is like the quietest voice in the room. Like, excuse me, in the back there. Were you trying to say something?
I couldn't quite hear that. Could you repeat it? No, it's gone.
Run to the next room. So, I mean, that's, you know, I think with the spiritual practice, that's the gift, you know, is that you start to hear, you start to hear, and you start to listen for that voice, and you start to trust what's happening in your body, you know, the sensations, the little voice going, or, you know, it's just, it's tuning into the subtleties, you know.
Yeah, because I think people misunderstand what intuition is. You know, we do think it's going to be this loud booming voice that says, you know, this is the instruction, and this is how you need to do it, and this is what you need to do, and this is the choices that you need to make. But it's not. It's very much a physical sensation, because the voice is inside of you, deep inside of you, in this body, not somewhere out there that you're going to reach. You have to reach into the heavens to find. It's going into the depths of you and feeling into, what is my body saying? How is my body responding to this? Is there a definite resistance? Is there an opening and expanding into space? You know, what is the feeling?
So that's you know, a spiritual practice gives us that, where we tuning into the subtleties. Actually, Yogi Bhajan spoke about the self-sensory system, and that's like our whole being. You know, it's the physical body, it's the energetic body, it's the all of you. It becomes this. We're doing it all the time. You know, whether we know it or not, but are we listening? You know, it's all of us is feeling and sensing and knowing, and you know, as you know, things are. It's not like, okay, this big thing's going to happen and well done, or tick, you passed that lesson, or I don't know so much, we're going to just maybe redo that. It's like back to back, ding, 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 a tidal wave, whirlpool, tornado. And you know, so it's like often you're not even getting a little moment to come up for air, you know.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? You know, how do we navigate that? Because it's, you know, Kate and I are having a big fat cackle about this, but I promise you, we don't always laugh about it. There's been many years of conversations where there's no laughter.
No, there's very much a people of, I'm done. Take me out. Get me off this planet.
A lot of undone.
A lot of.
So, I mean, but seriously, you know, that's the learning, is that what we do have in a tidal wave, what we do have in a tornado, what we do have in an earthquake, what we do have is our breath. I am breathing. It's the simple thing that can take you back into your body, that will take you back into now, is I have this breath, I am breathing. Follow it. That has taken me out of everything. For me, it's been about the breath. And that just takes you deeper until you actually drop into the center of who you are, you know. So, and when we move, and then, you know, and then it kind of it keeps us here, you know.
And this is where we need to be. This is where the experience is.
This is where we need to be awake, you know. And I think it was the Buddha who said, live, paraphrasing wildly, but live your life as if there is a cobra in the room. Live your life as if there's a cobra in the room. So what, you know, that is alert. There has to be like this awakeness, you know, what is happening, and just having this awareness, you know, and I absolutely love that. I love
And
that.
It's an awareness every level, you know. It's an awareness of, yeah, you can't drop that awareness. You can't suddenly close your eyes and say, well, I need to have a quick nap.
Although there was a lot of napping.
Yes, there's been a lot of naps.
There's been a lot of, okay, good night.
Watching that cobra is exhausting.
Yeah, just stay curled up there in the corner. Just hold on. Just hold on a minute.
Quick nap.
Well, yeah, especially like perimenopause. I mean, that was just, I mean, just, you know, where kind of energy levels just completely shifted. And yeah, I mean, you know, we're saying about when 2020, when the pandemic hit, I mean, it was such a blessing for me, in that it was like my body and soul just needed the deepest rest. I just needed the deepest rest.
And that time out, yeah.
On that time to like call myself back and just allow the churning and what needed to kind of churn, you know. But yeah, here we are, 2023. And just that sense of time, Kate, don't you feel that? Just, I mean, it's like, you know, we know that we, you know, humans made up this particular time, you know, this is how time works. Well, hello. I mean, it just doesn't, does it? I mean, now is, you know, yesterday and tomorrow just all in one. And there's so much going on in every kind of realm and layer. And yeah, it's...
I often reflect on how, you know, when I started delving into or feeling into the energies of what's going on collectively for us, and I started writing about that and started sharing all that information, you know, there was a long periods of time where we would be processing, or we'd be feeling that energy coming in, you know, and then there would be the integration and the processing of that energy, and then it would be settling in, and then the next wave would come, and it would be, okay, we've got to, you know, do the same thing with this wave, and then there'd be time, and then whereas now it's like every moment is different, you know. It's literally these waves are just hitting us one after the other after the other. There's no break in between them. There's no chance for that inhale and that exhale of the energetic processing and integration. There's just, it's coming. You've just got to go with it. And I think that as you were talking about the breath, I was suddenly realizing that actually more now than ever, the breath and awareness of the breath is essential, because we can't catch our energetic breath, but physically help ourselves to breathe through these moments, and through that breath help to stabilize ourselves through the waves and help us to ride them, because otherwise,
like, I'm here, yes, and just like that feeling of you know, I'm here, I'm here, and I'm doing this. I can do this. I have all that I need to do this. If I'm here, it's like, wow, you know, actually I'm here, and I can do this. And I mean, I definitely feel an upliftment of energy. I feel incredibly hopeful, actually. You know, I feel like it's somehow, there's a lot going on and there's a lot coming out, but I can feel how things have changed, and perhaps it's not tangible yet, but I can feel something has definitely changed.
Do you think it's like, yeah, I often relate this to parents when I'm working with their kids. You know, kids are able to sense and feel the undercurrents of what's happening, you know, in an environment. They can feel it. They know exactly what's going on. They can feel it. But often what is presented to them by the adults around them is contradicts the feeling, you know, so they then learn to not trust themselves because what they are seeing and what they are feeling is not the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, the distrust of self starts really.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm feeling this, but mom or dad is telling me this. I'm feeling this, but my teachers are saying this. I'm feeling this, but no one else is saying that it's real.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's where we are at now as humans. We, you know, everything we felt that was, there's just something not quite right.
Yeah.
Being presented to us and what we feel not the same. You know, what's being presented to us, everything is fine, everyone's safe. Meantime, we go, I don't know, there's something that's saying, no, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And we've learned to really listen to it. I mean, lots of trial and error to go. If you're going like, then it is.
Exactly.
Listen to them.
But now what's happening in the world is what we're being faced with, and what is surfacing and what's coming up is showing us this feeling we had was that.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's a big learning. Yeah. It's big. It's really, as you say, it's a big collective learning, you know. And this is how we are evolving. And someone said to me the other day, and it was like, wow, that just makes so much sense in terms of what's happening, you know, physically on a global earth level, but energetically and evolutionary, you know, it's that Saturn suppresses and Pluto pulls out, exposes. And I mean, you can't make this up. Like the planets are just, I mean, and I was having this conversation with someone today as well. This, you know, how can we doubt anything? How can we go, you know, into our minds and, you know, panic? And it is so much bigger than us, so much bigger. And I feel like our job, actually, we could even call it our only job, is to get out of the way of ourselves. Like, get out of the way. We are in the way, you know,
trying to manage the whole thing.
And then something wow happens in your life where you couldn't make this up if you even tried. And you're like, and think how many times that has happened in your life. If you go back to those moments where you are just outstandingly blown away, where it's clearly bigger than you. We have to keep remembering that as well and stop trying to restrict or constrict. And I speak for myself, you know, I'm saying this, but I'm also saying it to myself because it is an outstanding reminder when you think, if we think of this one thing, how planets are quietly circling and moving, and yet it reflects exactly with what is going on down here. I mean, phenomenal, just phenomenal, you know.
I know in our community webinars, which we do on a Sunday and a Wednesday. Last year, I started banging on about March. March was an important month. I think shifts are coming in March, but this is before I knew any of the astrology. I mean, just for anyone. I'm not an astrologist, so you know the fact that the astrology starts to meet up with what the information I'm getting in the sense that I'm getting my guides are telling me is always, I'm always like, wow, look at that. But so last year I was told March, and I thought, March, it's the equinox, oh yes, it's the now I'm like sitting in March and going, Saturn, equinox. I mean, there's a couple of other things that are happening. No planets in retrograde. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I'm going, well, of course. It's like, and the shifts are just happening. Yeah. And I keep saying to people, this is the time where you literally have to hang on to what, because it feels like we're in this massive cosmic ocean with these waves coming with the tornadoes, with the whirlpools, with the tsunamis. These, and we're in these tiny little boats. We don't have a rowboat. We don't, we don't have oars. We don't have an engine. We're literally taken by the water and by the spirit to where we need to be. And the only thing we can do is
do nothing.
All we can do is stay in our boats. And what keeps you in your boat? There's no oar. It's no, you don't even have a bucket to get the water out. Okay, you are in your little rowboat. Right? No, not your little boat. There are no rows. And you just got to cling on. And what keeps you in there? What keeps you when you're in the thick of things? What is it? Your breath. Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Breathe through it.
And watch, watch how you hold your breath. Watch what happens to your body when you release your breath. Watch what happens, when it's all up here. Watch what happens when you take it deeper. It's phenomenal. It's truly phenomenal. Yeah, sure. I watched this amazing thing on Netflix. It was about this young teenage girl who circumnavigated on her own. Did you watch?
I haven't watched. I watched some of it. Yeah.
Oh my word! I watched it recently, and they let her go. I mean, she's been sailing since she was when you talk about being in your boat, it's next level because they let her go, and I can't remember how many months she was on the sea. I think 3 or 4. Yeah. But there she is on the ocean on her own, and it actually speaks of a spiritual journey. The valleys, the caves, the joys, and she's all on her own. It is next level. And she gets to this one point where her boat, it's this massive storm, and the waves are going to be too big. And she comes up with this idea, because she's communicating with her people on land. And she comes up with this idea of not trying to chase the storm, move away from the storm, but actually to go with the flow of the waves, these massive waves. So she basically just goes, she's in the storm and she's getting clapped around. Can I say that on a podcast? Clapped.
Sure, I've said a lot of swearing in the podcast in the past.
And she's getting tossed. And at one point, because they've got a satellite connection with her, at one point, her boat, her little tiny boat, and her. So basically, she can't do anything. She's like strapped into her little bed and locked in. It's like it's
surrender at the next level.
A next level surrender, and she gets pushed down. And I think she goes like 4 meters. I don't know. They say the feet, and I tried to work out the meterage. Maybe wrong, but even if you think it doesn't matter how deep, whether it was deeper or shallower, but it was like she gets pushed under for long, and then she loses communication. Like they don't know if she's alive or dead, her parents, and here she is under the ocean. But eventually, she pops up. The boat pops up, and she survives this massive storm. And she lands up getting back to where she needs to go, and she's completely I mean, she's been solo for all these months. She arrives to like this sea of people. She's honored by the country. You know, it's like, it's such a hero's journey, you know. It's such a journey of, well, there it is. There
It
it
is
is right
the
there.
journey that we're on. I mean, it is the hero's journey. You know, so many people talk about it. I mean, this is the Parsifal journey. It's the
Yeah,
hero's journey.
yeah,
It's the journey where we find ourselves, our true self, not the bullshit that we bought into or the bullshit that we've taken on. I'm not sure
yeah.
I'm ready for an ocean journey on a boat all on my own in math.
Next level courage, like courage beyond, you know, and that courage, like they say the word courage, it comes from the heart, you know, which comes from the soul. It comes from a very deep place. And it makes me think of something Carolyn Mace also spoke about, and I can't remember in which book or if it was a podcast or something, but you know, I loved that she said, you know, if you haven't experienced at least, I can't remember how many she said, maybe 2 or 3 dark nights of the soul in your lifetime, then, you know, I mean, it's part of life, you know. It's not meant to be challenging, you know, exactly. Who sold us that? That's, you know.
That it was going to be easy, or that we were going to sail through it, or we were going to go through the shit.
Yeah,
We were going to
yeah,
come out to all, you know, the beautiful life and
yeah.
whatever. No, this is the
Yeah.
journey.
It
It's the
goes
journey
on
of
navigating.
yeah, navigating through all these different feelings, all these different emotions, all these different experiences, because that's what being human is all about. And we are here to be human. It's not all just about love and rainbows and love and light.
Mm.
Darkness is very much a part of the human journey.
Yeah, completely. Going into those dark spaces and caves, you know, it's like a refining of our being, refining, reconnecting with wow, who you are, and actually allowing yourself to see that, you know, like, okay, you know, I really can do this. Or maybe sometimes you can't, and actually, fine, it's okay, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we all know people who didn't make it because
yeah.
they just couldn't. And
It actually was too much.
yeah, yeah. Well, what's exciting is we've got your foundation course in Kundalini Yoga coming up on Spirit Pathways. So
Yeah.
that's going to be available in the next few days for people to sign up and purchase and download and have a look at. So maybe you just want to tell us a little bit of
Yeah.
about what you put in that course. I mean, I know I've been working with you to help put
Yeah.
it online, but I can't say I've done all the breaks.
That's fine. Because you will have access to them for whenever you want.
I have been your student for 15 years
I
plus.
know. I know. I know.
Okay.
You've done
Hello.
all these multiple times, okay? So
Exactly.
basically it's a foundation course. So we cover the basics. So if you've never done Kundalini yoga before, you know, what is breath of fire? What are the bandhas, the body locks? And then there are some, you know, why do we wear white? Why is my head covered? What do we sit on when we practice? And then some practices. So there's a warm up, which you can practice on its own as a practice, or you can do it before a kriya. And then there's some kriyas, and it explains what a kriya is. And then there's some kriyas which you can also practice on their own, or if you want to, you can do the warm up beforehand and then do your kriya. And we've got in there Surya Kriya, for example, which is harnessing the Surya energy, which is the energy of the sun, which activates. So if you're feeling a bit of a dip in energy, this is a nice practice to, it purifies, it energizes, it vitalizes. And then we have lungs, magnetic field, and deep meditation. That works very heart chakra, lungs, thymus gland, immune system, a lot of breath work in there. I really love that kriya. And then
You've got something in there for sleep, because I don't know about anyone else, but I mean, these times of intensity, I'll have my coma nap in the day, nighttime. I don't know where sleep goes, but it's non-existent.
I didn't put anything. Did I put anything in there for sleep? I don't think so, but I've got some nice ones for sleep. And then, and there's an audio meditation. So if you don't feel like watching, you can actually just play an audio meditation to recharge, but it is a mudra one. But it's just nice to have that changed, a little audio one. And then reverse Adi Shakti Kriya, which is about self-blessing, and very interesting with this little reverse Adi Shakti Kriya. You really realize it's how tough it is to bless ourselves, how tough it is to give to ourselves what we can easily give out, So it also just takes us right in. And often, with Kundalini Yoga, some of the practices can feel very challenging, some not. But it really, it shows us what we are capable of, it shows us that, oh, okay, so I can do this. Or it teaches us to slow down, or take it at your own pace and speed. And yeah, so if you resonate with that, that is just a foundation, a taste. It's like a taster, and dipping your toe into a practice, Yeah. And there's an explanation about what the practice is, and then there's some written text as well that's kind of supports, and mantra sheets. What are the mantras that we use? Some of the ones that we use more often, some of our tuning in mantras, and yeah, mantras are also phenomenal. Phenomenal coding tools. The tongue is hitting your palate at a specific place that's stimulating something in your brain, that's elevating your consciousness. There's just so much going on. Those yogis were actually incredibly scientific and phenomenal.
And what I love about it all is it connects everything. It's an energetic connection, an emotional connection, a mental connection, and a physical connection.
No.
That's what I've always loved about Kundalini Yoga, is it doesn't leave out any aspect of you. It's not a purely physical practice.
Yeah.
There are all those other levels that are being brought into the practice, that it just feels more whole. It just feels like it covers every part, and it brings balance to every part.
Yeah. And I mean, you've been practicing it yourself for years, that how you feel when you walk into a class to when you walk out, and it's for everyone, it's a very, because we practice with our eyes closed most of the time. So, we're really working with developing intuition there. You tuned in, it's really your practice. It's not about the teacher. It's not about the person sitting next to you. It's about you and what you are working through while you're practicing. So it takes you very, very deep. It can. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when when we're feeling that disconnect in ourselves. I mean, I often find if I'm really struggling, but I don't have I don't have the patience, or I don't have the I'm too frustrated to sit down and do a practice. I often will just put on a mantra. I'll actually look for a mantra that, okay, what is the mantra that I need? Oh, okay, I need something that's going to open my heart, get me out of the
Yeah, I do that exact same thing. Yeah, absolutely. But we have something as well. Yeah. Just exactly. Maybe sometimes that's all you can do is lie down and listen to something uplifting, and it shifts your energy. It's amazing. There's something for everyone, and there's something that addresses, as you say, every aspect of life. What is it that I need? What is it that I need to be working on? and the practice for it.
As long as I've been doing Kundalini yoga, I have never done the same class.
It's phenomenal.
Never.
Yeah.
I have never. There might be one or two kriyas I say, okay, well, or even breathing. So, okay, I know this breathing exercise. The kriya that incorporates the breathing exercise is always different. I have never done the same one. Never.
It is phenomenal. I mean, even after 20 years of teaching, I'm like, oh, I don't know this kriya. Like, I'll still be finding new kriyas that I haven't practiced or taught. And I love that. It's like, oh, okay, let's try this one. Phenomenal. Yeah. And I mean, it's also interesting, like Kundalini yoga, we have the music as well. So the music enhances the class, but it's interesting, like since the pandemic and starting in 2020, I've found that I've been practicing more and more without the music. And if you think of those ancient yogis, or even yogis right now that are sitting in caves in the Himalayas, they don't have a Spotify playlist. I can tell you there's no Spotify playlist. They are practicing in silence, And also another thing, when I was talking about like a homeopathic remedy, a practice doesn't have to be complicated. We can be doing the simplest thing. And, kind of grading something beginner, intermediate, advanced, the simplest thing can be the most advanced thing. I think that's also just human nature wanting to kind of grade it, But the simplest practice can take you to the deepest place. It doesn't have to be a complicated story, really.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be so hard. It doesn't
have to be so hard. And I think it was Eckhart Tolle. I never know how to say his name quite properly. I think he is a person who said that he doesn't carve time in a day to have a spiritual practice. This is going back to actually what we were talking about in the beginning, is that, everything is his spiritual practice, and for me, that's the ultimate aim, isn't it? But all these kind of practices help us get there, actually. It's like once we have a structure, you have a way, your body and your being learns the language, or relearns this language of presence, relearns how to do it, relearns how to feel it and how it feels. And as you were speaking about that sense of expansion, because healing can happen when we are open and when we sense expansion, because then that opens the space.
Well, I think it's also, we're so deconditioned to be present, to have awareness, that full awareness in the moment. We're so distracted by everything. There are phones, there's social media, there's TV, there's just busyness, and we forget what that awareness of self and presence feels like. So having some sort of daily spiritual practice reminds us of what it feels like to be present, what it feels like to be deeply aware in the moment, so that when we are driving our car, when we are washing the dishes, when we are going for a walk, when we are engaging with people, we are reminded of how to be deeply present.
Yeah, definitely.
And then everything becomes that spiritual practice.
Yes,
even
and then
conversations.
Yeah.
So I'll take my daily practice today. Thanks.
Yes, thanks. There's something you were talking now, and it made me think of something, and that just went. That's the menopause mush brain in action.
joys.
Well, I just lost your voice there.
Well, the joys of being a woman and heading into menopause.
Yeah.
We're also, for anyone who's interested, we're also putting together a little program to address the awakening of the divine feminine within us and within our world, and how we can support ourselves through the transitions of things like menopause.
It only took us 50 years.
Yeah,
so please.
That's coming soon. Watch this space. We'll have to have another conversation around all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you for making the time, and I'm glad to see that.
We've got our time already. That felt like 5 minutes.
I know, but well, with us, it always feels like 5 minutes. We could go on for 5 minutes and it would feel like 5 minutes.
I know. Okay, Kate.
We'll definitely do this again.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.